Yet one more example of why in Washington, D.C., if it were not for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all.
Well, this graphic didn't age well. It was already missing some more material delineations, but we'll get to that in a moment. Bringing you what's ignored, sensationalized, misleading, or just plain false, here's your media malfeasance for the week. CNN and other Pravda media were quick to keep the spotlight on Orange Man bad when news came out this week that classified docs were discovered in Biden's possession. And the excuses grow along with the bad news for Biden.
It was just a small amount. Trump had more.
As if that would make a difference. What if among Biden's small amount, there were the nuclear secrets that the media speculated Trump had, but were never able to collaborate?
Biden was cooperating. He turned them over right away.
Really? The documents were from his time as VP about 6 years ago and possible several shuffling around the papes from one place to another. And since he was VP at the time, he didn't have the absolute authority to declassify. Trump as president did have that authority. The AP, CNN, and others chose to leave that point out.
But Biden had the docs locked up in a private office, not a residence. Like Trump!
Yeah, but it was at a University of Penn think tank, which has received more than $60 million from China. Who all had access? What were SCI-level documents doing outside of the required SCIF? The small amount narrative got busted when even more classified material turned up in a garage.
Classified material next to your Corvette? What were you thinking?
I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage.
That also obliterated it wasn't a residence defense. Never mind, Trump's private residence is a secure property protected by the Secret Service, not a garage. What's worse is it might not even be Joe Biden's garage, but rather his son Hunter, who is under federal investigation right now. New York Post reporter Miranda Devine highlighted a Hunter Biden background screening with the corresponding address listed.
We don't know what really happened here. We don't know how many documents there were. For all we know, there could be triple the number of documents that Donald Trump had.
Yeah. And it's just totally irresponsible.
In light of the security breach, Republican lawmakers are demanding President Joe Biden release visitor logs from the Wilmington, Delaware home, according to Epoch Times. So the latest excuse is,
this is all Trump's fault.
No, seriously. The looming arrival of Trump to the White House left many of Obama and Biden's aides wary of the future and eager to cement many of their accomplishments. That's from CNN's article Friday titled Biden's Whirlwind Final Days as Vice President had aides scrambling to close his White House office. He was just way too busy and terrified of the incoming Trump presidency to handle classified docs with care. In other words, in the legal manner. And he just plumb forgot about it these past several years. As Red State points out, weren't we assured CNN is getting back to hard news and unbiased reporting? So why is CNN trying to justify a sitting president doing illegal things? Ms. Pelosi?
We believe in the rule of law. And that's what our country is about. And no person is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
And because no one is above the law, AG Merrick Garland appoints a special counsel to investigate Biden's alleged mishandling of classified docs. But wait, the first Biden classifieds were discovered November 2nd. And Garland appointed a special counsel to investigate Trump 2 weeks later. That's strange. Why did he wait until now? Senator John Kennedy has questions.
Aside from the obvious that the Justice Department is investigating President Trump for something that President Biden himself may have done, there are a lot of other intriguing questions for the Inspector General. Number one, was there a cover-up? The powers that be have known about all this since November 2nd. I'm not surprised that the Attorney General has appointed a special counsel. I'm not sure he had a choice.
Who is this attorney appointed to investigate Biden? Handpicked by the same guy who authorized a raid on Trump's home. Robert Hur. Where have we heard that name before? Oh, he was a former partner of corrupt Christopher Wray. And Rod Rosenstein's top lieutenant. Kash Patel says her as a government gangster involved in the Trump-Russia collusion lie and actively suppressed a memo he and Devin Nunes released exposing the hoax. He is the same guy who vetted retired British spy Christopher Steele, a disgraced spy who was fired by the FBI and hired actual Russian spies on behalf of Hillary Clinton's campaign to make information up on Trump, according to PJ Media. What's even more shocking, not really, is we haven't seen any investigation leaks in this case.
You watched them leak photos of sitting out files of President Trump. Where's the photos of President Biden's documents? Where are those photos at? He knowingly knew this happened going into election, going into interviews. This is what makes America not trust their government. You cannot have one form of law because somebody philosophically has a different opinion than you, and you can't use the Justice Department to go after people that are politically different as well.
Speaking of leaks, the Twitter files keep dripping out the depravity of our government, whether or not the major networks report on the dumps. Another Matt Taibbi thread provides further evidence that Twitter was aware that claims of Russian bots on the platform made by Democrats and the media were wildly exaggerated or outright fabrications. Nevertheless, Twitter continued to indulge the Democrat and mainstream media push conspiracy theory in public, according to Breitbart. And earlier this week, Musk tweets, "Some conspiracies are actually true," to preface Pfizergate. In Alex Berenson's thread, he exposes how Scott Gottlieb, a top Pfizer board member, used the same Twitter lobbyist as the White House to suppress debate on COVID vaccines, including from a fellow head of the FDA. We learn actual doctors sharing verifiable data were suppressed if it caused jab hesitancy, while fake doctors, yes, fake, flourished. Deplatformed dissenters are taking legal action against legacy media for being complicit. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of Children's Health Defense, Trial Site News, Gateway Pundit, and others have filed a lawsuit targeting the Trusted News Initiative, a partnership between the media giants and big tech companies. It says members of TNI like WAPO, the AP, BBC, and more engaged in a group boycott against small independent news publishers by denying them access to internet platforms they need to compete and even survive in the online news market. Their definition of misinformation hasn't withheld the test of time and accuses TNI of violating the First Amendment and antitrust laws. Meanwhile, legacy media reports on another trove of coincidental deaths, particularly in young men or athletes. An 18-year-old rugby league star, a 20-year-old college tennis player, a 21-year-old football-playing Air Force cadet. Red Voice Media has 40 examples of sudden collapses since January of 2021. Public schools start screening athletes for heart problems while pretending this is normal, according to the Liberty Daily. The death of Lisa Marie Presley drew speculation, but Snopes is quick to shut that down without any actual investigation. Legacy Media demands you be content with cause unknown or any other possible reason for the coincidence epidemic. Perhaps traffic noise, air pollution, hot weather, cold weather, or humid weather. Meanwhile,
and we are just getting word of this now, regarding the COVID vaccine, the CDC is now saying that there has been enough cases of people who have had the vaccine, received the vaccine, and then suffered a stroke. The agency will now be investigating any potential links between the shots and the strokes in some of those patients.
So the CDC is going to essentially investigate itself. Cool. A new way to attack Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, assigned to cover the re-election campaign of Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, Miles Cohen, a young ABC News reporter, found himself stymied. The governor would not grant him an interview. Aides barred him from some campaign events and interrupted his conversations with supporters. And they won't let the blatantly false "don't say gay" bill narrative die either. The Indianapolis Star has joined a long line of news outlets that find it easier to frame Florida's Parental Rights and Education Act as the "don't say gay" bill than to read the 3-page piece of legislation, according to Daily Signal. Again, in what world is it okay for a journalist to consistently refer to a bill by what critics call it than its actual name, a phrase that's not even in the bill? For more Media Malfeasance highlights throughout the week, join my community on Locals, ChristyLeeTV.locals.com, and stop buying products from companies who hate you. Support a sponsor and switch to American-made products you're buying anyway. Fill out the form on patriotswitch.com/ChristyLeeTV to learn more. For KLIM.News, I'm Christy Lee.